Welcome into Bengals Breakdown. I am Tom Downey. We got 2 more days of trade rumors for the Bengals. We begin with some candidates and also what The Athletic reported on Sunday before the game, that the Bengals don't plan on making moves. They plan on standing pat again at this year's trade deadline. I think that would be a mistake. With the way this team looked against the 49ers, with the issues you're having in the backfield behind Joe Mixon, injury-wise, and the lack of competent tight end play, I think the Bengals doing nothing, or at least not trying to do anything, would be a significant mistake by the organization. So do the Bengals need to make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Some trade rumors, targets coming up here in just a minute, but go vote 1 or 0 in the comments. A name we have not mentioned at all before, and I'm actually very intrigued by here, is Logan Thomas, the Commanders' tight end. Now, this was a pitch. I was driving into work this morning listening to the Athletic Football Show because I really like what Nate Tice does. And host Robert Mays pointed out, hey, the Bengals have been bad at, overall, and that's all true at tight end spot. He mentioned Logan Thomas. And I actually really am intrigued by this idea. The Commanders are potential sellers. Logan Thomas is due about like $3 or $4 million the remainder of the season, so not too terribly bad from a contract perspective. Maybe the Commanders even eat a little bit of it. They have to make that move by today, by the way. The Bengals need a better option at the tight end position. And Logan Thomas would be that guy. Now, he's missed some time in recent years because of injury. The not very good quarterback play has really limited his production as well. But he's already been better this year than what the Commanders or what the Bengals have gotten out of the tight end room at this stage. Significantly better. And you're probably not going to get the 2020 version. That's fine. I don't need the 2020 version. I need the guy in Washington right now over the remainder of the season. And that's going to be around 400, 500 yards for the Bengals. Maybe even a little bit higher. That's all I need. Because right now, Irv Smith is a problem. And I'm not trying to be like super mean to players. I get it. But we also have to be honest with our analysis. This is not good enough out of Irv Smith. 15 targets. He's dropped 2 of them, by the way. 10 catches, 57 yards, no touchdowns, and the fumble that almost killed the Bengals against the 49ers. I don't need your tight end to be anything more than your 3rd or 4th option at best. Maybe 5th if you want to include some checkdowns to your backs. But what I can't do is game on the line into the half and you throw a bubble screen at the tight end and he fumbles the football inside the 5. I can't have that. That is a net negative. You can go look at the EPA per play. He's been a negative. He has cost this team more points than he has provided this year. That cannot happen. If the Bengals are serious, and I think they are, because they've been more aggressive than they have been in years past with the way they've structured contracts, the Joe Burrow deal, for example, they're serious about making noise this year in the playoffs and making a run, you need a new tight end. You need a new one. Irv Smith is not going to be enough. For those 3 to 4 plays, 3 to 5 plays a game you use him, they can't be 4 catches and a fumble. That can't happen. You have to get more out of it. And I don't think it exists on the roster at this stage. So do you agree with me? Do the Bengals need to trade for a tight end? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me at the pinned comment right now. If the ad comes on YouTube, take advantage of it and go vote. The other area of concern, we'll come back to find at the end of today's show, is at running back. Chase Brown placed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury before the Bengals game. That's going to cost him at least 3 more. That thins out an already very thin running back room in Cincinnati. There's Joe Mixon, who played very well, has been a solid piece again this season. However, he's had a high volume share. And Mixon's age and workload history, historically speaking, is a real threat of injury. When you, in the NFL, in the modern NFL, when you have that high of a workload, if you're not Derrick Henry, who we'll get to in a second, the risk for injury goes up. And right now, it's Travion Williams and Chris Evans. Team does not trust those 2 guys, clearly, at this stage. That's why the Bengals continue to get linked to other backs, such as Derrick Henry. This is from Sports Illustrated again, by the way, floating him out as an option. Now, Tennessee's trade deadline plans are in a unique spot. They just won with Will Levis, by the way, taking over and playing well. Trading for Henry would require a significant change in the way the Bengals historically have operated. It would be a premium trade. It'd be a splash trade that the Bengals haven't made since trading away Carson Palmer, who they weren't going to play anyway. So that's or almost trading away A.J. McCarron, which got voided because of the fiasco in Cleveland and maybe was done on purpose with the Browns. We'll never know. Now, I want to make this part clear. Derrick Henry is not King Henry anymore. I am sorry. His yards per carry the past 3 years have been down by a full yard since that 2K season back in 2020. Workload's been massive. He can be a workhorse back for you. He's a very good football player. He hasn't really been a top 5 back this year, though. I think he's more of a top 10-ish, fringe top 10-ish back. Still really good. Still a big piece. But for the alleged price, I'm not sure there's that much interest right now. Now, the Titans have said that they leaked out publicly that they told Derrick Henry they weren't going to trade him. And, the phrasing there was not, we're not going to trade you, it was that we don't plan on trading you. And that led to Jay Glitz and some others out there as well reporting that maybe it's a ploy to get a better offer from a team. And that wouldn't really surprise me because that's how NFL teams tend to do business. I just don't know if the level of offer the Titans, which I think is a third rounder, if not higher, is going to materialize. Plus, Will Levis actually looked really good, and if you're going to eval your rookie quarterback, you actually want to have his best pieces available on the field alongside of him. Today's show was made possible by Prize Picks. You can get a $100 first deposit match up to that figure by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS using code CLNS. Hey, you got the sports equinox, so you can mix and match NFL, college football, NBA, and MLB today on the Prize Picks app. It's fun, easy way to play DFS. You're not playing against thousands of other people. It's you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch them winnings roll in. I'm going to follow the guide of our Bears Now host, Harrison Graham, here with his picks for Monday Night Football because he's on a bit of a heater, so I'm going to ride with him. I'm doing the flex play, though, not the power play like he did. More than Jared Goff passing yards. Raiders' defense is bad. Devontae Adams, at some point they're going to feature him, you would think. And then less than Jahmyr Gibbs rushing yards. 70.5 is a very high figure for Gibbs. So again, folks, $100 first deposit match or up to that figure. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Links in the comments and the description, but one more time, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS and using code CLNS. Austin Ekeler also mentioned as a trade target for the Bengals. This is also from Sports Illustrated. Ekeler would be a big, sexy, fun addition on offense. There's the best check down option Joe Burrow's ever had in his career. And Ekeler did request a trade back in the offseason. He wanted a new deal. Chargers said no. He said, I want to get paid. They said, go find one. He couldn't find one because NFL teams don't want to pay backs big money anymore. More on Ekeler here. But if you could get either player, assuming the contract, the cost to acquire is somewhat similar, maybe give or take a round of pick value, who would you pick? DH for Derrick Henry, AE for Austin Ekeler. Ekeler finally got going in the air for the Chargers in their win over the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. He's only averaging 3.7 yards per carry. That's kind of shockingly low. He also has averaged under or about 3 yards per carry in the past 3 games since he returned from his injury. So it's been great game against the bad Dolphins run defense on the ground. Bad. Might be a scheme thing in LA, but the passing value certainly is impactful. He and Mixon would be a great duo. The problem is it makes no sense for the Chargers. The Chargers are fighting for their playoff lives. And they might not make the playoffs. And if they don't, that regime's getting fired. Tom Plesko's out as GM in theory, and Brandon Staley's definitely gone as head coach. Which means they're not going to sell because selling is them firing themselves. NFL teams don't do that. Now, if the Bengals make a trade, we will have it covered for you. Don't miss out on any Bengals news. We'll have a video for you guys, at least one tomorrow on the latest trade rumors. Do not miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/BengalsTV. Let's go back to the tight end room here. This one mentioned by USA Today, Bengals Wire. They had Austin Hooper as a trade target. And I'm actually, We had not mentioned him either. That makes some sense, though. He's a veteran tight end. And you want a tight end that can help you a bit as a blocker and help you a bit as a pass catcher. And I think Austin Hooper can do that. I think the cost would be incredibly cheap. Even though he is tight end 2 for a Raiders team that likes to use some tight end packages, it's going to be the Michael Mayer show, who maybe you should have drafted him or Sam Laporta. But that's neither here nor there in Cincinnati. Hooper was I think it was a 1,000-yard receiver, or close to it in Atlanta. Gets paid by the Browns and kind of hasn't done all that much since then. Actually was kind of decent in Tennessee last year. Pretty impactful from that perspective. Again, I don't need 600 yards out of my tight end. I need like 400. And I think Hooper can get you there, even though his numbers have not been very good. In a backup role, it's barely behind what Irv Smith has done. I think it's a decent name, a cheap, 7th round or a pick swap even, name to consider if the Raiders lose tonight. With that said, they might not sell that hard because remember what I mentioned about the Chargers and that regime getting fired? The Raiders might fire Josh McDaniels if they keep losing this year. So they might be buyers. Maybe they'll flip off Hunter Renfrow for a pass rush piece if they can find one. Who knows? But decent name to consider if you are the Bengals.